You know, when I talked about Rwby all those months ago, I kept on seeing a single question pop up in my comment section. What are your thoughts on Red vs. Blue? Frankly, I don't know if it's even worth talking about this series, but considering a good chunk of my audience enjoyed seeing me talk about an old anime series that's about 15 years old, might as well roll the dice on this one. But what is Red vs. Blue?
Hey, yeah? You ever wonder why we're here?
If you're unfamiliar with the series, Red vs. Blue is a machinima web series that was produced by Rooster, where the main source of filming was to take footage from the video game Halo. As such, the series is actually a spoof on Halo, and even makes mention of said series here and there, with one notable exception.
Target locked.
What? No! Target unlock! Unlock! Please help me, nice lady!
Firing main cannon.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. What? Oh, son of a bitch.
Holy fuck! Church, are you okay?
RVB is a comedy series, or it was at least. In the last couple years and seasons, the comedy has kind of taken a back seat, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, especially when there are things that can do a good job replacing the comedy so long as the comedy is still there because it's the backbone of the series. Granted, I think some of the comedy has...
Sure you can, motherfucker! Holy shit, that was terrifying!
devolved over the course of the show's lifetime. Regardless, the original story had two teams, the red team and the blue team, doing a battle simulation in Blood Gulch, each team filled with...
I can't wait to touch all these buttons.
Don't touch any buttons.
Touch.
Come on, giant friend!
fun characters, to say the least. Each of the characters, while being idiots for the most part, all had their own personalities and quirks that made them endearing, and you could even see them be that in the comedy as well.
There's your last warning! Stay out! I love mass!
What in the...
Your only hope of survival is to kiss my commander's ass! And there's another warning! I know the other warning was supposed to be last, but I never listen to orders, because I'm too lazy and stupid! And ugly. Did I mention ugly?
This is gonna be a waste of time, I can tell already.
Yeah! Freeze, intruder! Stop your intruding right there!
Who made these things?
I did!
Wait, you're real?
Of course I am! It fell for a classic misdirection. Still got it.
Can I say that I actually really like this moment from Sarge? Like, legit, it's both funny and actually very smart. I mean, there's a reason why Sarge is my favorite character in the series. He's actually pretty confident and funny. And you could say other things like about the characters that were endearing, even though they can be dumb at the same time. Like, while Sarge is awesome, he's also incompetent that he built a robot and somehow got it stuck on the Spanish setting. You could say the same thing about the other characters. Church, a de facto leader of the blue team, is an asshole and can shoot anything with a sniper rifle, yet still miss. Caboose is a lovable idiot. Tucker's a perverted dum-dum who essentially got into Destiny because he made love to an alien. Yes. Griff is a lazy bum who didn't want to go to war. Simmons is a smart kiss-ass. And Donut is...
Man, I've never found something that cool in a hole. And I've explored just about every hole you can think of.
I think you get the point. There are a lot more other characters, of course, but we'd be here all day if I were to talk about each of the characters in depth. So if you want a recommendation of Red vs. Blue, watch the first 10 seasons, pretty much practical gold for the 1 through 8, and you get a good grasp of the plot too. But let me put it like this, the very first conversation of the entire series.
You ever wonder why we're here? It's one of life's great mysteries, isn't it? Why are we here? I mean, are we the product of some cosmic coincidence, or is there really a God watching everything, you know, with a plan for us and stuff? I don't know, man, but it keeps me up at night.
What? I mean, why are we out here, in this canyon?
You can already tell what's going to happen. And it can hook you because it's such a good character moment as it establishes who these characters are and showcases the simplistic yet enjoyable dialogue between them. Heck, it might have been even the seed that got me interested in making videos in the first place. Hell, I watched this shot material in high school that soon became the basis for a major corporation. But if you got eyes, you can see what the title of this video is. So what happened to this show that I love so much that I now have declared it to be dead? Well, let me tell ya!
I have seen the top of the mountain, and you will worship me as though I were a god!
gone.
Word.
Another one gone. Another one bites the dust. Ugh, yeah.
If there's one thing that contributed to the decline of the show, it was a shift in focus. I'm sure that a lot of people will disagree with me, but once we started reaching the 8th season of the show, there was a dramatic shift in tone. I'm not saying it's bad, but the story of Red vs. Blue slowly began to creep into more serious territory, with a focus on the freelancers, basically the actual soldiers. In the earlier seasons, the freelancers' backstory was hinted at, but as the seasons began to get up there past season 5, there was more and more of a focus on them. Even to the point where there were a couple of dedicated seasons to them, with a second season that gave even more backstory. It was basically where the dramatic shift began to happen. Hell, I can even tell you when this shift actually legitimately began. All the way back in season 8.
Do I hear a...
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
This was the moment that Red vs. Blue changed. And to be frank, it wasn't a bad change, at least at first. Cause I certainly enjoyed the fight choreography, even the latest season, which we'll get to. But when that Jeep broke through the wall, Red vs. Blue would never be the same, and slowly but surely, things would change for the worst. In case you're wondering, this fight scene was made by Monty Ohm. Yes, the same Monty Ohm who made Rooster Teeth's current cash cow, Rwby. And to be frank, these animations aren't bad, and I'm not saying that they're the cause of Red vs. Blue's downfall, just that it was a sign of the changes. It wasn't until season 10 that these changes really started to rear their ugly heads. And that's basically due to quality changes. The animation did improve and the fight scenes went along with that in hand. But it was the storyline that really made a big impression how the show degraded. This is because most of the story being told has next to nothing to do with the cast that made the show popular in the first place. Like, I understand wanting to flesh out the backstory, but when I come to a show called Red vs. Blue, I want to spend my time watching the Reds vs. Blues somehow bumbling about and somehow saving the day because of goofball antics, and still finding a way to kill Church.
Son of a bitch!
However, these two seasons take that away and instead focus on these stereotypical badass characters who we originally know nothing about, or very little about, but ultimately don't really matter to the story since the only two we really care about in some capacity are Washington and Carolina, and that's mostly because they survive. And I say that barely about Carolina since she's a newly introduced character in these seasons, and well, to be frank, I don't really care about Carolina. This seasons are pretty dedicated to force the audience to do some more footage of the freelancer's backstory in these seasons, and really, if you were to ask me, it shouldn't have gone too long. It should have been a side series, which is something that the previous seasons did by having shorts focused around the character Text, who was also a freelancer. Not helped is that the freelancer story was done completely in CG, which made a bigger disconnect as it feels like these two are separate shows that are stitched together.
It's opinion, not news!
When season 11 rolled around, there was a return to form for the first half. The Reds do stupid things, Tucker gets annoyed with Agent Washington, Caboose is depressed over the loss of the previous leader of the Blue Team, Church.
You shot Church, you team-killing fucktard!
There's literally no plot progression, which, if you've seen me in the past, know that I don't normally like, but considering the roots of the show, it actually plays to the strengths since it's for the most part focused on the comedy. Hell, there are even callbacks to the first season. But then, we slowly get into the plot of the next 3 seasons. Suddenly the Reds and Blues are roped into a civil war on a planet, and there's a lot of stuff in there that I don't really like. I know a lot of people enjoy seasons 11 through 13, but when Miles Luna was put in charge,
I'm not good at a lot of memory-related things.
Let's just say there's a reason why I've ranted about Rwby for so long. But, alright, you want an example of the dumb writing? Here you go! To make a long and admittedly stupid story short from season 13, in order to wipe out an entire planet's worth of people, the bad guys have the device to do so. They have a key in order to activate it. There's just one problem. The key won't work unless the last person it connected to dies, and the key hooks up with another person. So long as this guy right here doesn't die, the bad guys can't activate the Doomsday device. And the Reds and Blues are even prioritizing the people who have a connection to the key to get out of the city that they're trapped in that's under attack by pirates. This is a known fact. It's explicitly stated in the show, and said character, who I just pointed out, knows this fact.
You have to stop them! He's going to use that sword to kill us all! chill out. I don't think he knows how it works yet.
What makes you say that?
Well, if he did, he probably wouldn't have left without killing you.
Well, thanks to you, the mercenaries now have the power to kill us all.
Only if I die first.
It looks as though you had a similar idea.
Shouldn't you be in the center of town, behind 78 inches of bulletproof everything?
The only thing that's stopping the bad guys from using the device is the guy staying alive. If the bad guys actually had an ounce of brains, they'd have one guy standing near the terminal with the key, ready to enact Armageddon. And what does this idiot in white do exactly?
Wait! If the pirates know that we're on board the Pelican, what's to keep them in the city for the explosion? What? I mean, they'll just come after us! We'll lose our home, we'll lose everything for nothing! Well, there's not really any other options.
I think they're falling back. Get ready to...
We got movement! You'll never take me alive, you bastards!
You stupid You just had one goal. Just one goal. To stay alive. You know what would have actually worked? Switching armor with this dumbass. Have any of the characters who are actually, competent on the battlefield, have them switch armor and distract these idiots. Or have a faceless grunt. It's not like we don't have plenty of those. It's a good thing that the bad guys, who could have easily been set up at the Doomsday device, are just floating over the city in a ship. Everyone's an idiot. It's just so dumb. Then came Season 14, which was an anthology series. Which is really stupid because Season 13 ended on a cliffhanger. Which, when you call the episode The End, it's not a good idea to just ignore that whole setup for an entire season. I don't even want to talk about Season 14. Not that it's bad, it's just not really relevant. So I won't talk about it. Seasons 15 and 16. Well, there's a reason why jumping the shark is considered a phrase for this sort of thing. From things such as the comedy getting weird and the characterization being really off, it just threw away the elements that Red vs. Blue was actually appealing to begin with, and just really pushed me away from the series. Apparently they're fighting against gods who are AIs, and then there's time travel. Yeah, because it's not like Red vs. Blue didn't do that before and did it a lot better and much funnier.
Time travel isn't Jenga. It's more like Operation with a side of Yahtzee. Bingo!
Really, it's a mess of a couple seasons. Like, probably the worst example I can give is Tucker. He was a developed character who was a lazy pervert who eventually became more of a fleshed out character during the chorus arc, becoming sort of a leader who had to adopt that role. And in this, he kind of just regresses back to Season 1.
Can I change my order?
Yes.
I want a 200-foot down!
Okay, I'm sorry. What is that? His penis.
That was truly cringeworthy.
It wasn't until the idea of making this video popped into my head that I considered returning back to the series. And while Season 17 tried its best to do damage control for the previous ones, it still had its charms. I mean, considering the mess that Season 16 was, well, anything was better than that. And it gave me hope for the next season. How wrong was I on that?
Agent Carolina, what took you so long?
A fan? You want an autograph or something?
Thanks, Carolina. Let's do this.
This is probably, no joke, the worst season of the show.
It's in my ear. Oh.
No! Please don't! I don't want to!
Goodbye. Fun fact, when I told my friend who's an animation student about the season, she merely watched a few seconds of it and promptly clicked out of it. She was so like, nope. Can't say I blame her. There were a ton of lights and lens flares that got my eyes burning still to this day. Like, who decided it was a good idea to blind your audience? I guess if you don't want your audience to actually watch what you put out, then hey, mission accomplished there. I know I'm being a bit too negative right out of the gate, but I legit do not like this season. So let's talk about two of the only positives of this season, the music and the fight scenes. While the aggressive rap music isn't really my thing, I preferred the metal and rock music that was the previous seasons, and generally I'm more forgiving of stuff that has decent music to it that I like. At the very least, the music did give this season its own identity, which is fitting I suppose, considering all the changes and the fact that I pretty much swapped out the entire cast. The only other positive thing, and I have to say that I'm mixed on it though, is that the fight scenes are pretty good. If you can get past the artistic choice overall, the fight scenes have fun combat gimmicks, interesting choreography, and can be visually stunning at times. The fights were made with the rule of cool in mind, which can be both good and bad, especially when there's a huge amount of them. I guess that's a side effect when a good chunk of the writing staff worked on Death Battle. Honestly, it comes off of putting more flair than actual substance, since Death Battle fights are self-contained and don't actually take into account a character's personality in the fights. And it feels like the fights are disconnected from the actual story in Red vs. Blue Zero. You can see the stuff that Death Battles likes to use, like excusing the plots, the eye-rolling one-liners, and the lack of interesting characters. It's a chore to actually care about anything in the fights, especially when there's so many. There's like a fight scene in every episode, and they're all over the top, and characters don't really learn anything from said fights. I can even say with the main story it has the same problem. Like, here's the thing. A lot of the information we get is done through exposition. Hell, the new characters we meet are being introduced by Carolina.
First up, Axel, former glass operative, current AOD Golden Boy, and weapons expert. He's got a wife and kid at home along with a couple of Boy Scout merit badges. That's just my guess. West, what's a team of lovable misfits without its father figure? He's your tactical lead and your emotional security blanket. He's also East's actual father. A bit on the nose, if you ask me. Speaking of East, if you told me she was an 18-year-old with daddy issues, I'd believe it. She's a rebellious, competitive punk with a nifty little power that gives her super speed and incredibly high marks. But not as high as one. Headstrong and impulsive, she could be the next leader of Shatter Squad if she can learn to work on a team. And Raymond, tech guy would be an understatement. This kid makes Guy Fieri look like an amateur cook with a wacky wardrobe in place of an actual personality.
Oh yes, this totally doesn't come off of its reading the character's wiki page. And it's not how you get me interested into these characters. Because instead of actually allowing the audience to experience the character's personalities, quirks, and relationships in real time through natural development and dialogue, well, you can just put their character personalities right out there in the front. I've read fan fictions that introduce their characters more naturally. Even the characters themselves agree with me.
Well, it's one thing to read up on our files. It's another to see us in action.
Yeah, we're good.
Also, side note, why the hell is Carolina's cast outside her armor? That's not how casts work. Now, you may be wondering, who the hell are these jokers? What happened to the Reds and the Blues? Who knows? With the exception of Tucker, Carolina, and Washington, none of the main cast gets any actual follow-up. And for a show that has about 17 seasons of development and characterization, that's kind of a bad thing.
Hopefully this will be the last.
Where have I heard that before?
I understand that a number of the voice actors for the original cast of Rooster Teeth left, so I'm a little more understanding about the situation. But it really hurts the story that the characters we followed for so long are now just gone. Poof! Up into smoke and flames! Also, and I feel the need to point this out, they really messed up whatever was good about the past 3 seasons. So, context, boys, girls, and all those in between. One of the major focal points in seasons 15 through 17 was that Washington, a character that's been in the show since season 6, received a massive neck wound and brain injury that actively affected him and made the rest of the characters feel guilty for his injury and how it was hurting him.
And did you all know?
No.
Did you? No. Was I the only one who didn't know I have fucking brain damage?
Dude, we had no idea.
I kept it from everyone, Wash.
Including me!
Yeah.
How could you keep that from me?
I just... Look, I didn't want to upset you.
Now that's just bullying!
It's probably one of the only things that I actually liked from those seasons, and aside from Carolina's stiff delivery, it was a powerful scene for this character. It was also the reason why the group decided to go back in time, prevent his injury, and then mess up the timeline, which was the whole plot of the entire series of that point.
Everything I touch, I fuck. I fucked you. I fucked England. I fucked Washington.
Hell yeah.
I'm being serious here. You don't understand. I'm responsible for his injury. My friend, my mentor. I did this to him.
Come on.
You weren't there. I rushed in like an idiot, and I got him shot.
And when Washington decided to go back to get shot to fix the timeline, it was a great character moment and probably one of the best arcs for a character in the show. So, what happens in Zero?
No, Major Washington. I thought he was forced to retire because of his, brain.
1, rude, and 2, heard they fixed that a long time ago using cutting-edge robotics and old kitchen appliances. He's got superpowers now.
God damn it!
So not only is this delivered in a line of exposition at the beginning of a new season, you've effectively made one of the most important plot beats of the entire show pointless! It's not like we couldn't have gotten a scene where we learn that there's a risky operation that Wash could take in order to get better. Nah! We gotta move those action scenes in. Who cares about the previous characters? You don't just do that! You don't have a major character beat that was a key part in the last few seasons and introduce a concept that outright makes the drama null. And yet don't do it in a throwaway line at the very start of the next season! The entire paradox happened because they stopped Wash from being shot and to help the man. Let's just remove the development and storyline from the previous 3 seasons like nothing happened. Great to know that all of season 17 was fucking useless. The Zero crew tossed away what was probably the most beloved character arc for Washington for no damn reason. Continuity and effing over the rest of the series. As much as I want to talk about the characters in depth, I don't want to make this a huge video. I will say that I like a couple of the characters. Probably the best character is Tiny. Like, she's obviously got the most personality of these characters.
So what do you think? Can you fix it? Whoa.
For sure!
Great.
Psych! As if. What I can do is spruce him up and rework the entire thing. These warthogs are ancient. Kinda like you.
What can I say? I like mechanic girls. She was memorable because she actually was allowed to express herself without being told everything about her. And I generally just liked her bubbly personality. On the tail end, you've got the main villain, Zero. You know that meme from Final Fantasy Origins, the one about slaying chaos?
Bullshit.
It's almost like the same thing with the main villain Zero, since he goes on rants about ultimate power, and he's just like some edgelord on your local image board, even though he has no clue what the power even is. He's like the opposite of the first major villain of the series, O'Malley, who was an ego-driven AI who was a big ham too. He was entertaining and he was memorable. Zero doesn't have that, which when you consider the plot, you can boil it down to him being salty about how his efforts are being wasted in the Shatter Squad. And they take it completely seriously. He's every cliche you can think of in a villain, and done so in one of the most boring ways possible. I can forgive a bad villain if they're entertaining at the very least, but when they're boring, that's the real sin here, boys and girls.
I'm the original bad boy.
And I think that's what I can say about Zero. It takes itself way too seriously. And to me, that's the real death of Red vs. Blue. Oh, and what they did to Tucker was complete bullshit. It's like the writers didn't even pay attention to the previous seasons, and all the development he got was just tossed away again! He's essentially an imposter version, and we didn't even get his signature
Hey, Jacob, Caboose, what did I tell you about?
Zero strips him of whatever identity he has and completely ignores everything that made the character good. And really, that can sum up my thoughts about Red vs. Blue in the current day.
But the hero never gets to see that ending. They'll never know if their sacrifice actually made a difference.
I used to love this series. It was charming, it was witty, and it was a series that made me smile whenever I would watch the characters come together and do these crazy antics. But when I look at Zero, when I see all the characters that I grew up alongside with disappear without a care to their development and past, and when I see the characters that return be disrespected by people who act like they know the series, but when you really sit down and watch, you can tell something is missing here. I want to make it clear, I don't hate Red vs. Blue Zero because it's different. Times change, people leave shows, and new writers appear with their own ideas and takes. That's perfectly fine. I hate the show now because it's done at the expense of nearly 2 decades worth of story, plot, and character development. It's officially the 18th season. It's not a new show, it's not a spin-off, it is canonically the next chapter in this universe that I grew to love. This comes from the very distinct tonal difference between the years, and change will happen. I've come to accept that as a part of life. It's inevitable. But just because it's inevitable, that doesn't mean I have to like it, nor does it mean I have to stay quiet about it. There's always been one thing that I've noticed whenever I criticize a portion of Rooster Teeth. Whether it be their shows, how they treat their fans for the sake of political correctness, or their business practices, I'll always get the people who will turn a blind eye. And frankly, I have no doubt in my mind I'll get the same here. If you like Red vs. Blue Zero, more power to you. I can see why people can enjoy it. There is a ton of flash and glitz to the fight scenes, and the music can be very good. But that's all there is to me. I remember talking about a video that said that a certain game was all style, no substance. And while I don't want to use that sort of rhetoric to describe anything because, funnily enough, I believe that style can be substance. And while I don't want to describe Zero as that, I can't help but thinking that Red vs. Blue has become exactly that. Then again, I think the same way about other aspects of Rooster Teeth. Like, at the moment, my magnum opus on my channel talks about another Rooster Teeth property that actively ruined the series that I could love as much as Red vs. Blue. And for what?
Are you that scared of what?
Here's the thing about Rooster Teeth, and I know this is probably going to sound extremely nebulous, but over the years, Rooster Teeth has essentially lost their spark. That soul, that creative spirit that really drew a lot of people to their shows and materials. I know it's cliche to complain about how a small group of friends goes into a multimedia company that has millions of fans across the world, and while I can appreciate the hustle, I can't help but be sad at watching this company that I watched ever since high school grow into a major media creator, and the media they create not only isn't up to par to the previous material, but also heavily disrespects it too. Gone is the passion, gone is the love, gone is the respect, and gone is the soul. And to me, that's sad. And it's sad that I have to say that because I genuinely appreciated and respected Rooster Teeth. But hey, that's just one fan's opinion. What the hell do I know? I'm MangaKamen, thanks for watching, and remember to examine your fandom. Have a nice day.